Welcome to this lesson on the risk of diabetes for dementia. In the last lesson we learned that women are at much higher risk of developing dementia and how a woman can reduce her risk at the 3 key reproductive stages in her life. In this lesson you'll learn that developing diabetes actually doubles your risk for developing dementia and what you can do to prevent or even reverse diabetes to dramatically reduce your risk of dementia. The link between diabetes and your risk of dementia is so strong that some researchers call Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. People with diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, are at higher risk of eventually developing dementia. Alzheimer's disease has been called type 3 diabetes because the inflammation, blood sugar levels and insulin resistance that we see in type 2 diabetes actually resembles what we see in people living with Alzheimer's disease. All of us that are overweight or obese, and that's actually about 2/3 of the adults in the UK population, are at higher risk of diabetes and therefore at higher risk of dementia. Simple carbohydrates such as sugar, starch and processed foods demand higher insulin production, more than our bodies are designed to produce. And having such chronically high insulin levels causes our cells to shout, "Turn down the volume," eventually creating resistance to the effects of insulin. And this means that not only will your cells not handle sugar as well and reduce use of glucose in parts of the brain as a sign of dementia, they also won't have the protective effect of insulin in your brain. Insulin is a wonderful defender of brain cells, meaning it keeps them alive. So turning down the response to insulin is an important contributor to the very brain damaging processes that cause dementia. In fact, brain insulin resistance is present in almost all cases of Alzheimer's disease. Elevated blood sugar dramatically increases the production of both free radicals and chemicals involved in inflammation and in insulin resistance. Both of these are strongly involved in damaging the brain in Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. The good news is there's a lot you can do about it, and regaining insulin sensitivity will not only help with your cognition but also with your fat, and it may even help you slow down brain aging as well. So there's been about a 95% increase in the number of people with diabetes in the last 50 years. Today there are more than 100 million people with diabetes or pre-diabetes in the United States and 3.9 million people in the UK. So this dramatic increase reveals why so many of us are at higher risk of dementia. With diabetes comes inflammation, your body's response to the damaging effect of sugar, further increasing your risk of dementia. So diabetics can't handle too much carbohydrates, and dementia is much less common in societies that don't eat processed food and carbohydrates. So when you develop type 2 diabetes, which is a completely reversible condition by the way, you have actually doubled your risk of Alzheimer's because of the inflammatory changes and insulin resistance that are happening in your body and brain. Even being pre-diabetic increases your risk of dementia. The good news is that we can fix this, and the sooner the better. Decreasing insulin resistance and returning insulin sensitivity can be achieved by replacing simple carbohydrates, sugar and processed foods with nutrient and fibre-rich vegetables and healthy fats while exercising regularly, nurturing the microbiome in your gut. That's the billions of bacteria that live in your gut that keep your brain and body healthy, and getting good quality sleep. As you limit your intake of simple carbohydrates, you'll be surprised to find that you fairly quickly lose your desire for sweet tasting food. So in the Dementia Prevention Toolbox in Module 3, I will give you the nutrition, exercise and sleep science tools to replace the sugar and processed foods in your diet with the right types of vegetables and healthy fats, aerobic and resistant exercises that boost your brain health, and sleep strategies to protect your brain from further damage. So in the meantime, I will look forward to seeing you in the next lesson, where we will examine how certain environmental exposures are threatening your brain every day, how these link to your chances of developing dementia, and critically, how to avoid these toxic environments and chemicals.